Today, I want to talk about my journey to surrender. Unlike most people, my yes to God did not come with a smile on my face. In fact, it was because I had reached the end of myself that I decided to say yes to God. And as I'm sharing my story, one thing I want all of us to know is that God has a plan for each and every one of us, and He has a will. Prior to creating us, He already envisioned the journey that He would want us to walk on. He had already established the plans that He had for our lives. And that's why in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, He told Jeremiah that He knew him before He formed him, and he was ordained to become a prophet prior to being conceived. And it's the same case for each and every one of us. The Lord has a destined path and plan for us. Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Mercy and thank you for stopping by. If you're new here, then consider becoming a part of our community. We talk about surrender, and it's for those that God has called to embark on a path they never envisioned for themselves. So if this sounds like you, then like, subscribe, share, and click on the notification button so you can be notified whenever we upload new episodes. Let's dive right into the topic of today. A month prior to joining my undergraduate, I had a dream, and in the dream, I knew that God was calling me into ministry. Now, it's not even I had this dream the night after my baptism. And so I think it was a kind of ordination where God was commissioning me. However, at the time, the last thing I wanted to do was follow the path of God. I wanted to live my life. I had a plan, and I knew that that was the only way to actually live the life that I had always envisioned for myself. I did not think God had the capacity to give me the life that I desired. And even fast forward to today, I have the same fears as well because my life has not taken the trajectory I envisioned. Anyway, back to my story. So I went on to do my undergraduate, and I had it was a smooth sailing actually. There were no complications up until after my graduation. I encountered a medical emergency that derailed my plan. You see, I thought that I was going to go do my MBA abroad. I even had uh, the campus figured out. I literally had everything figured out. But because of this medical emergency, I had to postpone the said plan. And instead, I decided to pursue my MBA in Kenya as I was recovering. And again, it was also smooth sailing up until a couple of months prior to my graduation when I had a dream. I'm not going to give you the details of the dream, but what I can say is this. From that dream, I knew that if I did not give my life to Christ, my life will amount to nothing. The reality is, witchcraft is real, spiritual warfare is real, and if you still have doubts about that, maybe it's time for you to actually take a closer look at your life, and you will realize that there are dark forces that are fighting you day and night. And unless God protects you, the chances of your survival are slim. And I would actually think that you're living the good life, because maybe you're not struggling financially, materially, or there are things that you see going your way. But As long as you're outside the will of God, then you're giving the devil the ammunition to actually destroy your life. And you would actually have smooth sailing now, but who knows about the future anyway. This dream actually caught my attention, and because of this, a couple of months later, I rededicated my life to Christ. And so in my mind, I thought that because I had rededicated my life to Christ, my life will get back on track. How wrong I was. My life literally took a turn for the worse. Not only did I not get the job that I wanted, but it didn't matter what I tried to do, nothing seemed to be materializing. I No matter how much I tried to upskill and do all these courses that were considered marketable in the world, no one was willing to hire me. I started businesses that just failed, and it got to a place when I got frustrated. Fortunately, the trials and the warfare and the rejections I was experiencing drew me even closer to God. But then in 2023, somewhere in June, I was in my office and I had a voice tell me, in 2023, somewhere in June, as I was seated in my office, I had a voice tell me to give him my heart. I knew it was God, obviously. When God told me that He wanted me to give Him my heart, I was actually offended because, as far as I was concerned, I had literally given my life to Him. I was praying, I was fasting, I was tithing, I was giving, reading His Word, doing night vigils, you name it. And so to hear Him tell me that triggered me, and I got to a place where I was sick of it. However, in as much as I I was offended, I knew there was something to it because nothing had worked up to that point. And so fast forward to December, I remember singing the song I Surrender with tears streaming down my face. And I actually thought that I had fully surrendered. But then in January of 2024, I had another dream. And in this dream, the summary of the dream is that I saw myself living the life that I had always envisioned for myself. But then I got to a dead end. I hit a dead end. I knew that I could not move forward because there was a blockage before me. I could not go up because I had hit the ceiling. And then, but I could also not go down because the ground was murky and it had very ugly things beneath it. And when I woke up, I knew without a shadow of a doubt that if I continue the path that I wanted for myself, I will get to a place where I will get stuck. And I will get stuck and be unable to move forward. And because of that, and that's when now I started my journey of surrendering, of true surrender. But even in that, I struggled with letting go of my desires. Again, the thought of poverty, the thought of not living the life that I envisioned for myself scared me. I doubted God's ability to actually help me out and to actually provide for me. And it's not because I don't know that God is Jehovah Jireh. He has the ability to provide. He is sovereign. He is powerful. I knew all that. I just doubted that He could do it for me. And I don't know who else is struggling with that. Are you doubting God? Not because you don't know He has the capability, but because you don't believe He would want to do the same for you. And I'm not saying that I'm still not concerned. I do have my concerns to this day because there are things that I'm yet to see materialize in my life. But at the same time, I've gotten to the place where I'm like, you know what, God, it's fine. Whatever you want me to do, I am willing to do it. And that's the space I'm in today. And that's why I'm sharing my story. And the funny thing is, I always thought that my story will have a happy ending when I share it. But I felt that I needed to share my journey to surrender. Some of the struggles that I'm experiencing, like the fact that I can't help but wonder if my life had taken the trajectory I envisioned for myself, where I will be right now. I can't help but wonder if God will actually change my life. But at the same time, I recognize that I don't have a choice because there's so many doors that have closed right before my eyes. I have experienced delay for so long. And so now I'm just like, you know what? I just have to do this thing that God wants me to. I just have to give Him my yes. And I'm giving Him my yes, scared, frustrated, but at the same time with the result that I have tried it my own way and I can't do this anymore. I can't continue pretending that I can figure this out on my own. My surrender is coming from a place of realizing that God, I cannot do it on my own. And so my yes is feeble. My yes is full of doubt. But this is the yes I am giving to God and telling Him, well, here I am. You have my yes. And I want to encourage you, if things have been falling apart, if you've tried everything in your own strength and nothing seems to be working out, maybe it's time for you to actually give God a chance. Maybe it's time for you to say yes to God. Maybe you don't trust Him right now. I certainly don't to some degree. However, I'm choosing to say yes. And I'm inviting you to say yes, to choose to say yes to Him. Like Jonah, God might have you in the belly of a fish simply because you are yet to say yes to Him. And it's funny because we sometimes imagine that when we say no to God, He will leave us and let us be. But one thing I've come to realize is that God will pursue you until He gets your yes. And even if you never say yes, Him pursuing you will never stop. So if things have been difficult, if you have experienced extraordinary struggles, oppression, warfare, you name it, maybe it's time for you to give God your yes. Maybe it's time for you to say, I surrender. Could it be that the storm you're in is actually God trying to get your attention? Could it be that He's the one who is allowing the storms in your life to get your attention? So say yes to Him. I have said yes. Will you? Be honest with Him. What are your fears? Mine is poverty and never achieving anything in life. What are your fears? Be honest with Him. Tell Him your fears. Be vulnerable with Him. Allow Him to heal the fears. Allow Him to heal the traumas that brought about those fears. In my case, I saw ministers struggle to put food on the table and to sustain their families. And so the thought of becoming a minister scares me because I'm wondering, will I be able? And so for me, I'm struggling because I'm wondering, will I be able to experience financial freedom? Will I get to the place where I can honestly say I'm independent and able to take care of myself? Will I be able to have a family and sustain that family? This is some of my worries. But I've gotten to a place where I literally just take them to God and tell Him, these are my fears, these are my concerns. I'm saying yes, but I want you to know that I'm scared. So I encourage you to do the same. Give Him your yes regardless. Because Jeremiah chapter 29 verse 11, He tells us that the plans He has for us are good and they have an expected end. He's already seen the end. He already knows that you will win. It might not look like you envisioned, but the guarantee is there is victory. Don't allow your fears hinder you from saying yes to God. I certainly will not. And so, from now henceforth, you'll see me here sharing my journey. And I'm hoping that you'll become a part of our community. And that even as I share my journey, it will give you the confidence to share yours. That it will give you the confidence to say yes to God. And until next time, I want you to remember God loves you and God can be trusted. Goodbye.